What's up, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Blakey, aka Brandon Lee TV. Welcome back to another episode of the Live with Brandon Blakey podcast. Now kick back, relax, and come take a ride with your boy. So we just got the breaking news that former LSU guard Hailey Van Lith has entered the transfer portal for a second time in 2 years. We know she started her career playing 3 seasons at Louisville, then made the move to LSU. Didn't quite work out the way that we were all expecting, and obviously, her expectations were different as well. So now she's in search of a new opportunity. But what does this mean? And what would be the best fit for her at her next stop, school number 3? We'll get into it, but before all that, make sure to hit that subscribe button for all the latest and the greatest. And join our memberships. We got that exclusive content coming daily, weekly, whenever you need it. Now, let's get into it.
You are now locked into the Live with Brandon Blakey podcast. Here is your host, Brandon Blakey.
Now, the saga of Van Lith's first transfer to LSU was heavily documented. It was supposed to be what we were thinking, a super team, a team of monsters with Anissa Morrow as well as Van Lith coming to join the defending national champions and their superstars Angel Reese and Flau'jae Johnson for LSU. But Hailey Van Lith never really found her stride. She had some good games, and we saw some flashes of her running the show for LSU, which is the reason she transferred. That was mentioned. She wanted to go somewhere that she could prepare herself to be a complete point guard and up her stock in the WNBA draft. It didn't quite work out. We saw her lose minutes to last Terpoa. We saw her get abused on the defensive end. We saw her become a 4th option, sometimes 5th option on this team. Coming from where she was averaging over 19 points a game, we saw that dramatically drop. And it just never felt like a comfortable fit with her and Coach Kim Mulkey's system. It never felt good. It just looked like there was a lot of struggle. She tried, you know what I'm saying? She took a leap of faith, and you got to commend her for that. She bet on herself. She took the competitive route. She wanted to be challenged, and I think she was at LSU. I won't sit here and call it a failure. I think it was a learning experience for her, but I do think that the welcome was outworn. I know Kim Mulkey, we mentioned in my last video, she said that she wanted Hailey Van Lith back and that she had another year. We were thinking maybe she goes to the WNBA, maybe she comes back to LSU. She waits past the Wednesday deadline to make a decision about the WNBA draft, so that was off the table. And then there was a third option, which is just complete shock right now. She enters the transfer portal. And before she committed to LSU, she was considering Stanford as well as South Carolina as possible destinations last season. But she ended up transferring to LSU. Like we said, she just never looked comfortable at the point guard position running the show. She got away from scoring, looked less aggressive. She did have some big games. And I will say, I don't think they would have went as far as they did in the tournament in the Elite Eight if it wasn't for Hailey Van Lith. She didn't give them much in the last few games in the tournament, but they wouldn't have gotten to that point without her, man. I'm comfortably saying that. Effort was never an issue. She was always a competitor. She handled all the criticism with class. Sometimes you just got to know when to fold them. Looking at her next move, though, I do think Stanford could still be in contention just because of the way they're set up. They're losing Cameron Brink and maybe Hannah Jump, who was their leading scorer in the backcourt. You know what I'm saying? She was the only guard for Stanford that averaged double figures last year. So they're in need of an injection of scoring. Another school I think she could take a look at is Iowa, man. They're losing a lot of seniors. Caitlin Clark, Gabby Marshall, Kate Martin. So they're bringing in 3 guards, in the recruiting class that they have coming in. But I don't think any of them are going to be as well prepared to play and contribute immediately as a Hailey Van Lith. She could really go get her rocks off at Iowa, man. Her and Hannah Stokey, Sydney Afalter, like this, they could, her arrival would definitely help them make that transition out of into the post Caitlin Clark era, man. I think she could go there focus on basketball, get back to what she does best, scoring the rock, because they're going to need a number one scoring option in that backcourt. She can get back to scoring the rock and just focusing on what she does, man, readapting to the game, but also being more important, being possibly a number one option for that squad. You know what I'm saying? A coach who utilizes her guards and really lets them play freely, man. You know what I'm saying, Coach Blutter? So I think for me, those would be the two schools I'm looking at. And if you look at the roster for Stanford, you lose your second leading scorer in Cameron Brink. You do return Kiki Raven, 19 and 11 per game. Her and Hailey Van Lith would be a really good pair, I think. Hannah Jump, the senior, not sure what she's going to do. And then when you go down the list a little further, like Alina Bosgana, the junior, averaged 6.7 points per game. Like, there's not a whole lot of production in this backcourt. You go a little bit further, point guard Talana Lopolo, more of an assist, a playmaker type player for them, not really known as a scorer. She did average 4.1 assists, though, but only 4.8 points per game. But still just a sophomore, another sophomore. Zanaya Harrell averaged 3.9 points per game. Maybe those sophomores can take a step forward and a bigger jump to contribute to the scoring total for this group, but not a whole lot of production in this backcourt, man. And they're bringing in a couple guards in their recruiting class, but, you never really know what to expect from freshmen. They are top 100 recruits, but none of these guys are going to be more prepared to contribute immediately than Hailey Van Lith. Stanford, Coach Vanderveer heading to the ACC. That would be a perfect return for Hailey Van Lith, match up against her old squad. Maybe Louisville's in the running, maybe a return. I don't know. They don't really need her, to be honest. And, I don't. It's kind of like transferring from your old school. It's like breaking up with a bad ex. Why would you go back? We know it didn't work out the first time. You know what I'm saying? We know the vibes there. But I think she could immediately come in at that lead guard position, play off ball. They have Lopolo running the show at the 1. Hailey Van Lith can slide into that 2 spot and really just get back to scoring the basketball, finding her rhythm, finding that aggressiveness, and getting comfortable in this system, man. Because Stanford's going to need some production. That is a lot that they could potentially be losing. We know Cameron Brink is out of there. That's 17 points per game you got to replace. So that could be the perfect building block for them to usher in a new era in Stanford basketball in the ACC. On the flip side, Iowa is in need of a guard as well to replace over 30 points per game from Caitlin Clark. Then you look at the other departures potentially in Gabby Marshall, Kate Martin, like a lot of these seniors that have been pillars and cornerstones of this program are going to be out of eligibility this season, man. So it's going to be, somebody has to step up for Iowa. Somebody's got to fill these roles. Will it be the freshmen they're bringing in? I don't know. That's a lot to put on a freshman. I mean, everybody's not coming in getting buckets. This 2024 class was this 2023 class was special, but all freshman classes are not moving like that. So will they be able to contribute immediately? I don't think they're going to be more prepared than Hailey Van Lith to join this team and contribute immediate buckets. You look at the breakdown for Iowa. Kate Martin, 13.1 points per game, probably out of there. Sydney Falter is going to be probably the lead guard for this group next season. Should have been in the 6th player of the year running in the Big Ten. 8.3 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, 2.3 assists. So I expect her to take a huge jump next season in her senior year. The 5'11" guard out of Chicago. I think she is going to take a really big jump, but she could use some help, and she's more of an off guard. They don't really have anybody coming back that can run the show for this group. You do look at like sophomore guard Taylor McCabe, who could take on a bigger role. She averaged 3.7 points per game this year. She's definitely a player that they're going to need bigger contributions for. Only played 8.9 minutes per game this season. Kylie Furball was a guard that came on later in the season for them. Another experienced guard out of Illinois, a junior. They may look to her to take on a bigger role in her senior season. Averaged 2.6 points per game, but not a double-figure scorer coming back in this backcourt for next season. Hailey Van Lith had a down year, but her stats are still very, very much so doing numbers more so than those guys that we just mentioned. With LSU, Hailey Van Lith averaged 11.6 points per game, 2.4 rebounds, and a career-high 3.6 assists while shooting 37.8% from the field. Now, we saw her peak her junior year so far with 19.7 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, and 3.2 assists. That was, her best season by far. She was honorable mention All-American that year, and she's a player that's improved every year. Now, she regressed this year with LSU, but I think, there were some valuable learning moments for her, and she adapted, and she continued to play through the ups and downs. But I think Stanford, I think Iowa will be two great fits for her. I'm sure there will be some other schools in the mix, and some that she's considering. An official list hasn't been released yet, so we don't know all the schools that will contact her just yet. But just looking at, what she could be looking for as far as immediate playing time, the ability and the opportunity to have the ball in her hands to make decisions and be a number one or number two option, Iowa and Stanford would be two programs that would allow her to do that, to re-up her stock, to just come back, you know what I'm saying, and make people forget about this past season and make us remember that junior year she had where she led Louisville to the Elite Eight. Y'all let me know how y'all feel in the comments, though. Holler at your boy. Let me know what y'all are thinking. What would be the best fit? Who are some other schools she should be looking at? And were y'all shocked? Are y'all surprised by this move? I'm a little surprised, man. I felt like she could come back to LSU, and, you know what I'm saying, one more year under Kim Mulkey, she could get it right, get everything clicking, but hey, that is not the case. Maybe she will, consider LSU still. I don't know. Maybe she could, maybe there's a chance that she takes her name out of this. Maybe there's a universe where Hailey Van Lith does go back to LSU. I don't know. Y'all holler at me in the comments and let me know how y'all feel about the situation. That's a wrap for us. For all the latest and the greatest, I am Brandon Blakey, a.k.a. Brandon Lee TV. Until next time, hey, we out.